There's nothing nice about this car. At first glance, this car looks unusual, aggressive looking, stripped down to the essentials. It's got a big motor that's loud, smells like gasoline, handles like a go-kart, and it's very fast. This is the way Haskell wanted it to be, and it is so damn wonderful that you can't believe it. It's not a complicated car to drive. There are no distractions, there are no modern comforts or computers. It's purely a 70s technology to get in and race. In the mid-70s, Porsche 935 won the 24-hour Le Mans. And by that time, many enthusiasts watching these races wanted the road version of the slant nose. And Porsche wasn't making it, so a variety of race car manufacturers, they got together and started creating conversions. One of those people were Dan McLaughlin. He owned American International Racing, and he's probably one of the best known performance bodybuilders to today. He designed many race cars in his time, and this slant nose was built by him. In all reality, most of the time, the final price paid to complete one of these conversions was usually more than double the cost of the standard model. But money really was no object for the exclusive clients that they had. Finally, in the beginning of the 80s, Porsche caught on with the demand of the slant nose, and they offered it to their customers as a special wishes program. In 81-82, which is the first year that they offered it, the slant nose had no headlights, and the headlights were embedded in the front bumper. And in 83 all the way to 85, they came up with the pop-up lights. And from 86 to all the way to 1989, they made an M505 option that you could have on the 930 turbos. Last slant nose was made in 1994, and it was on the 964 turbos, and those had the pop-up headlights, but there were exposed headlights like the 928 and the 968s. But you gotta realize, in the late 60s and the early 70s, car enthusiasts, all over the US, they were experimenting with new ideas how to make these European cars faster. For example, you had Carroll Shelby. He took a British racing car and he put a big V8 in it. You had Bizzarini in Italy that got in a fight with Ferrari, left Ferrari, opened his own brand and put a big Chevy V8 in his creation. And you had Rod Simpson, whom unintentionally started the Porsche hot rodding revolution back in the 60s by putting V8s in Porsches, and he took many exclusive clients with it. One of those clients were Haskell Wexler, who actually put this car together. I've known Haskell ever since I purchased this car, and him and I became very good friends. And for those of you who don't know him, he's a two-time Oscar winner, Hollywood celebrity, cinematographer, producer, collector. If you're a car guy and you like watching movies, American Graffiti and Viva Las Vegas is one of the movies that must watch. I was fortunate enough to meet with Haskell in 2009 when he was still with us. He had held on to this car for almost 3 decades till I bought it. He shared with me the whole story of this build and the people involved in building it. He gave me all the records and photographs and shared many fun memories with me. This build, it's a period correct conversion. It's not for the Porsche purist. I've been a PCA member for a very long time, and a lot of my friends at PCA don't like this car. But it is the story of this car that makes it special, and that's one of the reasons I've kept it for over a decade. When it was converted, the Porsche race parts were not unobtainable, and they were used in many track car conversions whenever possible. And you're talking about 40 years ago. This car has full OEM RSR suspension, custom torsion bars, and full brushed aluminum roll cage. Drivetrain is a ZZ4 350 crate motor with aluminum heads, long tube headers, and racing carburetors pushing about 400 pounds of torque, and the car only weighs 2,300 pounds, paired with a 930 turbo 4-speed manual transmission. Brakes are big Lockheed calipers, vented discs with dual brake boosters. It has competition lock stud with 3-piece polished Gaudy wheels with the gold accents. Interior has RS door panels, vintage racing seats made by Recaro, 4-point racing harness, racing pedals, and Tag Heuer rally stopwatches mounted on the passenger glove box. I personally did not do any modification other than changing the DP mirrors to 993 for a cleaner, modern look. Haskell and I kept in touch till 2015 before his passing. Not too long ago, I contacted his son Jeff, and he gave me some very rare historic photos of his pop's Porsche. I've owned this car for over a decade now, and these coupe chassis have become very valuable. But I'm keeping it the way that Haskell built it and the way he wanted it to be. His obsession with fast cars and stories of him burning rubber, screaming in Warner Brothers parking lots with this Slant nose will stay alive as long as this car is around. And believe me, I'll drive it the way it was meant to be driven in Old Riverside Raceway.